Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel Coding with Colton. Today we're going to talk about freecodecamp and the first section, which is called the Responsive Web Design Certification. And we're going to go over what you need to do to get that done, what it covers, and what you get to learn along the way. So this website, freecodecamp, is 100% free. It will teach you how to be a web developer from knowing absolutely nothing to being a full stack web developer. At least it will teach you most of the things that you need to know. And the first section will teach you the building blocks, the foundation, the cornerstone pieces for websites, which are HTML and CSS. HTML is kind of like the building blocks, and the CSS, which stands for Cascading Styling Sheets, that will basically help you style the HTML. And so with those two things, you can actually build some pretty powerful static sites. That's what all web pages are made from primarily, are HTML and CSS. Later on, you get to add some more things on like JavaScript, and there's other things that you can do. But this first section will just cover HTML and CSS. And so the learning section are I think the learning sections are pretty good. They teach you like the basic things that you're going to need to know, like CSS, grid, and flexbox. Like that's super important. It will help you make your web pages fit to like a certain screen size. Like if it's on a tablet or a smartphone, it'll make it so the content will look like it's all in the right order and it's all sized correctly. The sections themselves don't take that long to get through. Probably most of your time is going to be spent on the projects, but let's just real quick jump into the say hello to HTML elements. And this is basically what most of freecodecamp is, at least for the learning parts. You're going to have some information on the left. You have a code editor here in the middle. You can type stuff in. And then on the right, you have the output. So you basically put your code in this middle section here. And this is what you're going to spend most of your time doing, is just like working through code and making sure it's displaying correctly on the right side. And then when you're done, you'll click run the test, and it'll make sure that you did it right, and you'll get to move on to the next step. And so basically you go through all these sections here, and then you're going to get to these projects. Now the projects are cool because there's actually there's no tutorial that shows you how to do them. You're actually going to build these all on your own. And then there's actually a testing suite, or a series of programmable tests that you can actually put on your page to make sure that you did your page right. And all they basically give you is what's called like a user story, which is almost like bullet points for like, hey, your website should do this and this and this and this. And so once you add all these things in and you make your website, then you can actually put your link down here and get it tested. And so I'm actually going to jump to the last project that you get to do, which is the portfolio page. I thought it was really, really cool that you already have like a portfolio page after you build some websites and you get that up. So when we jump to this, I'm actually just going to pull up my portfolio that I actually made here. And all this code is like my original code from like when I did this like a year and a half ago. But there's some different sections that you get to do, projects. This is going to be the first 4 projects that you do, and you're going to just stick them on here. The first one's a tribute page. This one was pretty simple. You basically just, pick a page of someone that you admire and you put some information about their life. You just basically have some text and like a picture. And then the next projects get a little bit more complicated from there. This little survey page that I made, I pretty much almost hacked together. It was a little difficult for me to do at the time, just trying to get the sizing right and figure out how all the buttons work and all that stuff. This survey page doesn't actually go anywhere. All it's doing is just displaying some information to the user. And then you have an additional like 2 pages that you're also going to build, a business landing page and then this doc page here. And so they all use HTML and CSS, but you're just going to get a little bit more advanced as far as like what you're going to apply and what you're going to use to do that. Like, on this last one here, the 4th one, I should say, you are going to embed a video on your page. And so these projects are actually all built, at least initially, they give you the option to do them on what's called CodePen. Here's my CodePen right there. It's basically a website that lets you like build websites. And you actually just get to put in the code and then it'll display it for you. So I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like real quick. So you have your HTML and which is again your building blocks, and you have your CSS, which is your styling. So you put those two things together, and then bam, you got your website down here below. And don't think when you guys like look at all this stuff like, oh my gosh, like that's like document flow and all this stuff, like it's gonna maybe seem like a little overwhelming, like you have to like like write all this stuff in here. Like honestly, you just copy and paste this information from somewhere else, and you just put like a link to like accreditation. Like I took all this stuff from MDN. What you're trying to do is just like focus on how do I actually like make a website look good and put all the information that should be in there. So don't freak out if you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Like I promise it's not that bad, and you guys will do great. A lot of people were probably wondering, like, am I gonna be, am I gonna be job ready after doing this for, like 300 hours? And my honest answer to that is, like probably not. There's just so much more that you need to know, I think, to be able to get, to be able to land a job. Now, some people like might find something that, that's simple that just uses HTML and CSS, but for the most part, you're going to need to know JavaScript and, a lot more things to be able to be like for example, like a front end developer, just making the part of the website that the user sees. But these projects are awesome. They're going to teach you everything that you need to know pretty much to actually get some websites up. And if you're not sure about, like, hey, do you want to like do coding? This will be a great free way to find out if coding is for you. And if you're sure you want to do coding, this will teach you the basic building blocks of getting sites up and also making them like look good and be responsive. And the HTML and CSS, every website uses those. So those are the foundation pieces. 300 hours, I think, is pretty, again, accurate for being able to get this done, especially if you've never written a piece of code in your life. Like up to this point, I didn't, so like I had no idea what I was doing, and so it will take you a little bit of time. Just be patient with the process, and just basically keep learning and keep going. One little caveat I want to talk about is, again, like just building static sites, again, is probably not going to be enough to get you a job, because you can honestly do the same thing or more with like WordPress in like an hour or two. WordPress is basically just like a website builder, and so you're going to have probably more power and functionality with just WordPress than you will with learning these things. So you might be wondering like, well, why the heck would I want to learn this? And the thing is that these things are foundational, and you absolutely have to have them. You need them to be able to start building, custom websites and more advanced things. So this is kind of like the first step or the first building block that you need to do. It's absolutely worth it. It's really cool to, just have the satisfaction of like having a portfolio like completed. I remember when I did that, I was just so happy that, like, hey, like I did this, so that sense of accomplishment is huge, especially since there's no tutorial that's going to show you how to build those projects. It's going to be all you, and then, you're going to just basically do them. So that's the responsive web design certification of freecodecamp. Totally worth doing. Later on it teaches some some more things down here like JavaScript, front end library certification. We'll probably talk about those on a different vid. But hope you guys learned something. If you have not started freecodecamp, get started today. It's awesome. It's 100% free. Thank you for watching my channel, guys. Coding with Colton, and have a good one.